got a show for you. You do not want to miss this one. We're going to talk about the government shutdown, these lunatics on the left. We're also going to talk about how some of these pundits on the left are admitting that they're full of crap and that nobody's going to vote for them in the midterms. Nobody wants to vote for these crazy Democrats.
This president is a liar. He says there's no money to provide food stamps because of the shutdown. That's bullshit. His own agriculture department said there's plenty of money.
Don't believe the hype about ending the shutdown for people on food stamps. First of all, what happened in the military? What happened to air traffic controllers? You know what happened, right? They're playing a game. Senator Schumer is now moving the goalposts, right? What's more sympathetic?
Why are they lying to people? So you think the government shutdown, some military funding is not there. People can't get food. Food stamps are shut down. So you can keep what? Illegals getting money. This is what this is all about. Which one is worth which? Open up the government. You guys can negotiate this stuff later. But they don't want to. Well, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you get notifications anytime I go live and make a video. Y'all already know what to do. Let's get into this. Well, let's go to the government shutdown. Chris Cuomo shocked me. Clip 201. Chris Cuomo actually came out and said the quiet thing out loud. I think, I didn't like him at first, right? When he was lying on CNN every day of his life. He was telling people to get vaccinated. Then remember, y'all, he wasn't vaccinated or not vaccinated. He didn't he had COVID. He was supposed to be off work. Remember the guy snitched on him in his elevator at his apartments and told everybody he was out. He wasn't quarantining like he was supposed to. Then he almost got into a fist fight with a dude on a bike who told him to go in the house because he had COVID and he would walk this dog like everybody else should have. But yet on CNN, he was lying to people. And he was pushing all that stuff. He hated Donald Trump. He did all this. And now that he's off of CNN, hey, maybe we're on to something, y'all. Maybe there's something about this. When you work for CNN or Fox News, or you work for a corporate company, you have a fake personality. But when you leave is when we know who you really are. Look at what happened with Tucker Carlson. When he left, all of a sudden, this is the Tucker we get. Chris Cuomo, now that he left, this is the Chris Cuomo we get. Megyn Kelly, remember, we didn't like Megyn Kelly at first, remember? She hated Trump openly, and in the debate, she hated Trump, and then all of a sudden, Megyn Kelly on her own. Now, this is the real Megyn Kelly. I love Megyn Kelly, or most of what she say. Let's roll Chris Cuomo, and let's see what he had to say. Roll the clip.
Don't believe the hype about ending the shutdown for people on food stamps. First of all, what happened in the military? What happened to air traffic controllers? You know what happened, right? They're playing a game. Senator Schumer is now moving the goalposts, right? What's more sympathetic? Air traffic controllers are pretty sympathetic. Well, what's more sympathetic than they? Members of the military who protect our freedoms on food kitchen lines. Okay, what's more sympathetic than them? Poor kids who can't eat. Oh, okay, let's move the goalposts to that. We want a standalone bill only for food stamps. And the other ones can just go fuck themselves. You see, this is the game. Schumer's not wrong. They should be funding those things. But he's the one who shut down the government. Yes, Republicans are in control of all three houses. But we are in a shutdown right now because of what Democrats did in the Senate by using the filibuster where they got to get 60 votes to keep the continuing resolution from being passed. Look, the only fix, the real one, is to reopen the government. Now, here's the problem. Nobody ever ends a shutdown by getting what they want. It's never happened. Why? Because both sides know if you give them what they want, you're just going to keep having shutdowns. So what's the fix? What's the midterm winning move? Vote for me. I will fight for a bill and make a law that says no more shutdowns. And you create a period during which, yes, there's a constitutional demand that they pay Congress, no matter what. They're not part of discretionary spending, but they can have their own house rules, and they should pay for every delay past a certain point where they don't pass a budget. If they have to use a CR instead of passing a budget, that's another fine. They are playing a game. If they wanted to pay and get people paid and take care of people, they wouldn't have shut down the government.
1,000%. That's a guy I'd like to have a old fashioned with. Probably smoke a cigar. I feel like he's changed so much, and I like the Chris Cuomo like this. in my personal opinion. I'm probably going to be in New York soon. Maybe he live out there. Maybe I'll solicit him for a cigar. Every single day, women find out that they're unexpectedly pregnant. Many are filled with fear and they feel like they just can't do it. But you can be the difference. You can transform that fear and uncertainty into real hope. For just $50, you can provide a bundle of hope, a package of practical support and encouragement that reminds a woman that she is not alone and that her baby is deeply valued. Each bundle of hope gives a mother courage, a baby protection, and a family a chance to thrive. And when you give, you're not just making a donation, you're delivering hope. Every single dollar goes directly to helping women in unplanned pregnancies choose life and find strength for the journey ahead. Will you join us in delivering 100 bundles of hope to women and their preborn babies this month? Together, we can deliver hope, one bundle of hope at a time. All you got to do is go to SaveTheStorks.com/Tatum and give today. Byron Donalds, the next governor of Florida, which I hope that he will be. The guy's brilliant. Clip 202. Let's go with Byron Donalds and what he said, which somebody said I look like Byron Donalds. Do I look like Byron Donalds? See, you think all black people look alike. I knew that's what you really felt. No, I'm just playing. Roll the clip.
This is really all because of Chuck Schumer. He's trying to prove that he's tough. And so, yeah, you have SNAP, WIC, you have military officers and military frontline men and women who are not going to be paid, air traffic controllers not being paid, border patrol agents not being paid, ICE agents not being paid. And that's all because Chuck's trying to demonstrate that he's a tough guy, because there's really nothing else to discuss. All he said was, let's leave the government open and we'll have these further conversations on the other issues that are up for discussion. Yeah. But we're not going to do that during a shutdown. But on a broader level, you want to talk about the food stamp program and these other benefit programs that have been in existence for a long time. They've really become an area where you're not seeing people getting help and coming off of those programs. There is some of that does exist. I don't want to say it doesn't exist at all. But the broader concern is what happens if you have a segment of the population just continuously being on these programs. That's not helpful to them. It's not helpful to the American economy writ large. It's not helpful for upward mobility or productivity. And so there's some things that we're going to have to look at with these programs into the future.
Love it. Let's go to Jake Tapper. He finally made a statement about it. This is clip 203. And then we're going to listen, y'all. It's methodical. Trust the process. I'm showing you all these, and I'm going to get to the craziest clip you ever seen of Chuck Schumer here in a second. I can't believe he cussed like he did. I thought it was AI, and then I noticed it was on his page. Chuck Schumer is insane. These Democrats are insane. But we're going to get to that because I want to show him lose his mind and then show the hypocrisy. But let's get Jake Tapper, because y'all know he is never really favorable on our side. But all of a sudden, these people are waking up for some reason. Roll the clip.
The Democratic senators from New Mexico, your home state, vote to open the government so that these SNAP funds are not at risk?
Let me be clear. The administration is choosing to starve American children with money that they already have appropriated.
I'm not applauding their tactics.
By the White House.
Well,
this is a choice by the White House.
This is also, Congresswoman, this is also a choice by Senate Democrats to not vote to open the government. Yes, it is. I understand why they're doing it. They're doing it because they want Medicaid funds restored. They're doing it because they want Obamacare premiums to be extended past the end of the year. I understand the reasoning.
Sir, let me just be clear. The money for contingency plans is sitting there. That is why the states are suing. The White House is withholding funds from
2 to 3 weeks worth of SNAP funds.
Food.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it may not be a big deal to you, but let me tell you that for the grandparents, for grandparents that literally are feeding their children,
my point is that it's a short-term solution.
In those accounts,
it's a short-term.
At the end of the day, people need to be able to feed their families, and Saturday is when those funds run out.
If you feel so strongly,
we are fighting
Congresswoman, why not ask the Senate Democrats from New Mexico to vote to open the government so that the SNAP funds...
Sir, I am here in the House of Representatives. It is shut down. I am fighting to get the government reopened. I am fighting to get funding put back into SNAP that is already existent, and I am fighting for the American people. I am here. But show me a single Republican that is here. Not a single one is here to make sure that Americans are fed on
we
Saturday.
already voted
That
yes.
is why I am here.
Democratic Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury from New Mexico.
Well, if you can be a fly on the wall in these studios after they cut the person, how much trash they probably talk about these people, because you could tell he was incredibly annoyed. Why are they lying to people? So you think the government shutdown, some military funding is not there. People can't get food stamps are shut down, so you can keep what? Illegals getting money. This is what this is all about. Which one is worth which? Open up the government. You guys can negotiate this stuff later. But they don't want to. They want illegal aliens to continue to get Medicare and Medicaid access. This is what they want. And don't lie and say they're not getting it. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. But you guys wouldn't have shut the government down. Every Republican has voted yes on opening the government up. The Democrats are the one. We only need like 4 or 5 of them. And then we can open up the government. They're lying pieces of sugar honey iced tea. All right, let's get to Schumer head. No. It's JD Vance, and then we're going to go to Schumer, and then we're going to go to Schumer's hypocrisy, and then we're going to get to the next topic. But clip 204, roll a clip.
Let me just say, on the government shutdown in particular, the reality here is that there's a very simple bill that just reopens the government. It does it through pretty much the end of the year. That got every single Republican in the House of Representatives to support it. And then it got 52 Republicans in the Senate and 3 Democrats in the Senate to support it. But because of weird Senate procedural rules, it requires a 60-vote threshold. So on that issue in particular, when you have every single Republican with like 2 exceptions in both houses of Congress, I feel pretty confident. I know that I'm partisan. I know I have an R next to my name. But I feel pretty damn good saying the shutdown is the Democrats' fault because we voted again and again to open it. Now, but there's a broader question there, and I think most Americans, whatever their political persuasion, would actually like the country's political parties to work together better to solve the problems. And look, and I agree with that. And my approach when I was in the United States Senate was to try to find some issues where we could agree with the other side on and try to work with them on it. And let me give you one example. I really worry about concentration in the corporate sector. I worry about big corporate monopolies. I worry that when you have only 1 or 2 companies dominating an entire sector, it's bad for liberty and it's bad for prosperity. So you may be shocked to hear this, but I actually worked with Elizabeth Warren on some anti-monopoly stuff when I was in the United States Senate. But here's the problem. The problem is there is actually a lot of things where we could work across the aisle. There are a lot of President Trump is in my view, you haven't seen organized labor ever get behind a Republican at least in 100 years like they have behind Donald J. Trump. There are a lot of areas of common ground on that question. The problem is, as reasonable as some of these people can be in private, in public, the current obsession of the Democratic Party in leadership, I'm not saying every Democrat in the country, but the current obsession of every Democrat in Congress is get President Trump, fight President Trump, attack President Trump. It is impossible for us to work across the aisle unless a person is willing to put down their partisan sword, shut the hell up about fake scandals related to Donald Trump, and actually work with us. That's the way you make this happen.
I like JD. Every time I hear him talk, man, he just cut straight to it. Let's get to Chuck Schumer head and this fool. I mean, listen to how he talking on his. I thought this was AI, bro, but he posted this, so I'm sure it's not AI. Listen to what he say in 2025. What was the other clip from? 2024. Just last year. This is what he say now, and this is what he said last year. Listen to now, and then we go to last year. Roll the clip.
On Saturday, for the first time in American history, a vicious, heartless president is cutting off food stamps to hungry children, elderly who can't afford enough food to feed themselves, veterans who are down on their luck, all because he wants to use them as hostages so that Democrats will stop fighting for people's health care. We can do both. Provide better health care and provide SNAP benefits to the tens of millions who need it. This president is a liar. He says there's no money to provide food stamps because of the shutdown. That's bullshit. His own agriculture department said there's plenty of money. Every president during shutdowns has provided the money that's needed, even Trump in his first term. He is bludgeoning the American people, using the most innocent of victims to try and go along with his cruel shutdown, which takes away health care from millions of Americans. He is the most vindictive politician America has ever seen, and the most heartless man America has ever seen in the presidency. We're fighting him every step of the way.
Please donate to so-and-so and so-and-so. That's what's the next line on this. He's the most heartless president that anybody. All right, let's get to Chucky in last year, 2024, 208 wrote a clip.
If the government shuts down, it will be average Americans who suffer most. A government shutdown means seniors who rely on Social Security could be thrown into chaos as the Social Security Administration limits certain services like benefit verifications or fixing errors in payments. Our veterans could see regional VA offices shut down and support services put on hold. Some of our military service members could be forced to work without pay. Families who benefit from WIC and other nutrition programs could see benefits halted.
You know that these people are crooked, two left shoes on a three-legged man. But Nick Fuentes, and we're going to get to him in a second. Trust me, I got two short clips and then we're going to get to him. Nick Fuentes is a clown. And everybody that has been supporting him are all unreasonable individuals. It's no way you can say you're a Christian and listen to some of the clips that I'm going to show of him. It's no way. Not you, but him. Maybe you think you're a Christian, but you can tell me this guy is Christ-like, and people are comparing him to Charlie Kirk as if they're equal. That's insane to me. But the Democrats admit finally, Fetterman and that, I wanted to call her something, but I'm not. I'm saved. Fetterman and Abby Phillips get on TV and actually say the quiet thing out loud. Let's go to 301 for Fetterman, who's going to be a Republican soon. You just wait. Wrote a clip.
Never going to change my party, but clearly we've lost the argument, and right now I think it's entirely appropriate to really be honest and just figure out why exactly have we effectively lost 2 out of the last 3 cycles, and a lot of the things we've really kind of really lost our connection with American voters in ways. And I think we can't just be, well, Trump is always wrong, or that we're going to set the country on fire or whatever. That's just not true either, of course. But, you know, when I represent a state like Pennsylvania, that keeps you honest. And you always can't forget that a lot of Americans happen to disagree with you. That does not mean that they are fascists or now they want to shred the Constitution.
But when you hear some Democrats saying Trump is acting like an autocrat.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. If you actually compare him to an actual autocrat, that is not just that. Now, last night, for example, people were complaining. They were protesting about, oh, that's the Hitler thing. You just don't ever compare anyone to Hitler and those kinds of extreme things. And now look what happened to Charlie Kirk. I mean, you know, the man was shot. Now we have to turn the temperature down. It's like we can't compare people to these kinds of figures in history. And this is not an autocrat. This is a product of a democratic election.
So you don't think that Trump is at all shattering any of the norms of democracy in any way?
I'm saying he's definitely different, but that's what America voted for. Again, I don't agree with many of these things, but that does not make him an autocrat.
But one of the things that I hear from Democrats a lot saying a reason why voters may not like Democrats is because they don't fight hard enough. Democrats should be fighting harder. What do you say to folks who say that?
What exactly is fighting? What is fighting? You know, delay more votes, or just vote every no on everything, or saying, well, if they're doing X, well, then that means it's wrong, that kind of a thing. It's like, what exactly is fighting?
I'll give you an example. It could be shutting the government down. Like, some Democrats say if this happens, it'll be Trump's fault.
That's not fighting. That's mutilating our nation. If you vote to shut our government down, you are going to harm millions of Americans. And why would you do this? Where's our leverage? It was wrong. It was wrong for the Republicans to do that. Absolutely, that's true. It was wrong for the Republicans to do that. It would just be wrong for us for those things.
Bigger picture, has your party shifted or have you shifted ideologically?
My party is acting in a way they have forgotten. They have forgotten one of the reasons why we lost in 2024. Some of the most extreme things were weaponized against that. And now some people think now we have to double down on those things or we must become more progressive or more extreme. That's absolutely not true.
And thank him for saying that, because this leads to Abby Phillips saying a very, very similar thing on, I think she was on The Breakfast Club, said the very similar thing. It's like they're going to the extreme and they just hate everything Trump is doing instead of fighting. What is fighting? You guys are not actually accomplishing anything. You're just, and I think he meant instead of mutilating the country, manipulating the country is I think what he meant, but he had a stroke or something the other day. That's why he sounded like a 6-year-old, but at least he's fair and he's reasonable. Okay. Let's go to Abby Phillips clip 302, her on the Breakfast Club. I'm surprised Breakfast Club haven't had me on there yet. Hey, cause they know I'll tear that thing up, boy. They get in there talking crazy. And not saying physically, but I'm talking about with ideas. Let's listen to her. And they got her on a booster chair, just so y'all know, because she's got to be like 4'3". Roll the clip.
When you look at what Trump is doing as president, in a way, he's challenging capitalism. He's putting tariffs on countries indiscriminately, just because he wants to, making the case that he's doing it for Americans. He is taking government stakes in private companies. That's a Bernie Sanders idea, by the way. He is creating a government website where people can shop around for prescription drugs, another Bernie Sanders idea. So his willingness to just take some of these ideas that Democrats have been talking about and just do them, no matter how controversial they are, has been one of the things that, whether you like him or not, what people will say about Trump is that he does what he says. And I think that Democrats, one of the big problems that they have is that voters don't think they're going to do what they say.
That's a fact.
They say all the right things, but they don't think they're going to do what they say. And so whether it's challenging, you can call it challenging capitalism or challenging whatever, voters want to know that you're willing to buck the system for them. And I think Trump does that right now in a way that really shakes people up and makes people really mad. But that is also why a lot of voters, whether they like him or not, they will describe him as effective.
Now, when somebody says something like this, if they're reasonable and genuine, they would say, I like a person running the country like that. I will vote for a person to get things done. She's making it somebody it's a Bernie Sanders thing. It's not a Bernie Sanders thing. It's an American people want things to get done thing. And so Donald Trump is not picking a side. He's saying that this is best for the American people. Bernie Sanders, as cuckoo as he is, that don't mean everything he say is wrong. Maybe his motives are wrong, but everything he say isn't wrong. Bernie Sanders could be right about a few things. Just like, I forget the guy's name, Dow, or I forget his name. The Asian guy that ran for president that was saying that the American people need a dividend. And he's not wrong. When the American government is making profits and making money, that should matriculate down to the American people, because we are actually investing in the productivity of the government. So that means when I give taxes to the government and the government creates something that creates a profit, or they do business with other countries and we have excess revenue coming into the system, then the people should get some of a kickback. And so we're investing in it. We're investing our hard-earned money in the federal government. So some form of that makes sense to me. Not the people that don't pay taxes. If you ain't paying taxes, you don't get nothing. But if you are contributing taxes, there should be, in my personal opinion, the more taxes you make, the more of a contributing dividend you should get in the country's interest. That's my personal opinion.